was the artist? My father.
What happens here? David Acosta recognizes this symbol right there. And what does that mean? Well, we got dealt a bombshell that we didn't see coming. Whose books are these? This artwork has the demon symbols, Leland's demon symbol. It's there too. Yep, it's there too. This isn't just any artist, this is one of Leland's psychopaths.
My father.
Oh my god. Oh, what are you doing to us, evil? You're gonna just leave us at the end of the episode with that? We still don't know what's happening with Leland's mini-me. We have to talk about these puzzle pieces. Your puzzle pieces right there, guys, right there. There's your first puzzle piece. There we go. There's the full screen of the rock climbing wall. It's in the top left corner. Oh, there it was. Did you guys see it? I can't even pause it. So these two puzzle pieces might actually go together. Thanks a lot, Brian. Of course, this is our friend Devin who did this one. And potentially these two that go together.
Are you sure about that?
Alright, so the episode starts off with Mr. Blueberry Muffin, aka Sebastian, who is crushing on this barista girl. And she has a boyfriend, and he takes it kind of hard. Sebastian wonders why this girl was nice to him. When you get your coffee and your muffins in the morning, you prefer to get it by someone who's being mean. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Just because the person's being nice to you, it doesn't mean that they want to get in your pants. According to Leland, this girl is a tease because, you know, she's giving good customer service and she's friendly. This guy is a prime target, super vulnerable, probably at his most vulnerable moment. I don't believe that Leland is an incel, but I believe that he is coaching people to become incels so that they can cause discourse and disruption. So of course he's going to feed into this. So he convinces Sebastian that women love to lead men on and that he did everything right and that she should have gone out with him and that she's just being a whore for tips. Wow. So go and see psychologist Leland Towson. You know, get some therapy to actually become cooler. He can help you get chicks. So Leland tells Sebastian that you don't move for women, women move for you. And then as Leland walks away, you see two women moving out of the way because he walks right in between them like a rude little piece of fart ball. So this kid might actually go and see Leland Towson. So the next scene is the Vatican III. The name of the episode is Vatican III. Are these the Vatican III? Now I know something about the Vatican II. Now the Vatican II was created in the 1960s and addressed relations between the Catholic Church and the modern world. Either way, I thought these guys were kind of like the Three Stooges there. We got Larry, Curly, and Moe. Now these guys want to know all about Grace because they want to know if they should go in and try to get her out of China because she's been deported by ICE to China. This happened at the end of the last episode. Now, Grace is our prophet. If you watched my last recap in the last episode, and ICE reported her, the whole situation was very suspicious. These guys are apparently, according to the Monsignor, these are the top 3 Vatican guys. However, they seem a little bit more interested in knowing about other things that don't have anything to do with Grace or our prophet. David tells them that he thinks they should go and get her back from China. He believes her to be a prophet. Kristen tells them she thinks that Grace was a nice person, but she doesn't really believe that anyone can predict the future. She doesn't really believe in any prophet. Ben doesn't really think so either. As we know, he is the skeptic. They ask what his faith is, and when he says he's Muslim, well, there's a little bit of a conflict there, obviously, so Ben just kind of gets up and leaves. Oh, and they want to know if Kristen is using birth control. You can tell that's probably not going to go over very well on her here. They also want to know about David's relationship with Kristen. Are they wowing yet? Well, no, they are not because, well, he's a priest in training. So there we go again, writers. They are teasing us with the whole Kristen and David thing. So who's the creepy woman in the bathtub? The woman is Bridget Farrell. Now, they did an exorcism on her because she had a miscarriage, then started having seizures and talking in demonic voices. We hear what sounds like a confession from Bridget that she killed a young boy named Enrique. She also claims to call his parents after the murder, so there was apparently a prank call involved. So of course the Monsignor insists this woman is possessed, and if there was a murder, which they don't have any evidence of, it wasn't her, it was actually the demon. Kristen is pretty insistent that if there's someone that she killed, like a child, that this was a confession pretty much to murder. But the church wants them to investigate whether there was an actual murder, and if there is, this way they can notify the church. It sounds like the Vatican is legitimately concerned about Grace. If Grace was a true prophet, they might really consider going and getting her out of China. So the Monsignor wants David to go back again and talk to a gentleman from the Vatican. He's a little bit hesitant because, as we saw, they weren't very respectful to Kristen and Ben. So Kristen goes to talk to her rock climbing friend, who also works as a cop in homicide, and asks her if she has heard of a missing child named Enrique. Now, when Kristen mentions the prank call, this definitely strikes a chord with her friend because her friend knows all about this case. Her homicide cop friend wants to know where she heard about this information because apparently this information has not been released to the public yet, but they're pretty sure it is a murder case. And it wasn't just Enrique. Apparently there were 3 murders, and not all of them were considered homicide cases, but all 3 of them received these prank calls. Kristen's friend Mira really wants to know where she got her information from because obviously they know something that they're not letting on about. Either the Catholic Church knows something, or somewhere along the line something might be getting covered up. We're not exactly sure what. Kristen doesn't give up any information. She just tells Mirren that it's confidential. Mirren is not very happy about Kristen not giving her any information. She also says 3 Hispanic boys were seen last getting into a red car. Now, we know in the last episode, our prophet, Grace, said stay away from the color red. So it sounds like they are dealing with a serial killer. A demon serial killer, or a demon possessing a serial killer. We don't know. So let's go investigate this demon possessed serial killer. This is Dwight, Bridget's husband. And remember, the kids were last seen getting into a red car. And what do we have in their garage? A red car. And the question is, did a demon kill those 3 kids, or did the woman in there kill those 3 kids? And we have another exorcist, which means we have another growling, angry, spirit-ish type voice inside of a human. Now, this demon's name is Howard. He comes in and out. I'm gonna leave that alone. Howard basically confesses to killing Enrique. Kristen asks the Howard demon woman inside of Bridget where the other bodies are buried, and she obviously is very aware that there are other bodies here. And Howard the demon doesn't deny that there are other children that he has murdered. The demon actually does give up some street directions to where the bodies are buried. The demon also says that the other 2 boys were named Luis and Facundo. Okay then, alright. Kristen wants to go to the police about these murders, obviously, because she believes that Bridget is responsible. Whether it be the demon or Bridget, if this demon plans to kill a Ken, they are responsible. We have a little bit of an ethical issue here because David brings up the idea that if Bridget were Kristen's patient, there would be a doctor-patient confidentiality issue. So if she confessed as a patient in a therapy session to Kristen that she was guilty of murdering somebody, she wouldn't be obligated to go and report this to the police. Basically, David's point is that they are acting as her therapy. She is in their care. David also reminds Kristen that they need to take their break and have their drink together. Meanwhile, Leland is counseling his pupil. Sebastian feels humiliated by his barista coffee shop girl. Perhaps he should take revenge on this girl. According to Leland, the police don't usually believe women because they overreact and are emotional. Leland brings up a very valid point. Women that go to the police are not often believed because they're believed to be emotional. She crapped on him, so he should crap on her. And literally, that's what's going to happen. Back at the church, the 3 men from the Vatican want to talk to Kristen, David, and Ben again. They want what Grace wrote down when she was in the detention center before the guard took the papers. We remember from the last episode, she wrote down and translated a few things, and the guard took them and threw them in the trash. So the big question is whether or not what she wrote down, all the figures that she wrote, whether or not those fit into the full Codex. And here we have a very secure vault with the Codex. This is the first time that it's been outside of Italy. Now, Grace didn't write anything to fill in these holes, but they want anything that they can remember. Now, Kristen notices something right over here and she asks what it is. And right here, something in here catches Kristen's eye. Now, later we learn a little bit more about these. We'll get into that in a little bit. Something very specific is in here that was in last week's episode that confused me because I didn't know what it meant. There's an empty hole over here, and the priests don't have any idea what any of this is. Now, Ben realizes when they were in that detention center, they actually had surveillance cameras, so they could potentially go back and look at footage of surveillance and determine what Grace had written on those papers. All right, guys, I almost peed myself when I saw this. I know exactly what it is. It is the pig with the sword going through it. I thought it was a candle last week. Hey, happy birthday, pig. Put a candle inside of it. No, that is the symbol that was in the diaries that Leland gave the girls, the unicorn diaries. So that's extremely alarming, especially to Kristen, because now this symbol has been exposed to her family, and we know that it came from Leland. So she takes a picture of it. Kristen goes home, and we have a match. Holy crap. Yeah. So that symbol is something that Leland is using. We're then taken to Sebastian in a bathroom, and he's flushed the toilet, and he has this present. And I believe at this point he actually made his little present. I wondered at first what this present was, and someone else had said it was poop. Now it all makes sense watching this again. Sebastian doesn't feel right about what happened the other day, so he is giving his barista friend a present to make things right. Girl's just trying to make a living. I don't understand. This is a thankless job, constantly having to serve people and wait on people. I waited tables for 10 years. It is not fun. Just because a service person is nice to you, it's literally their job to be nice to you. As he walks away, you hear her scream. It's a really shitty thing to do, I would say, so to speak. Kristen takes the diaries back to David and shows him the matching symbol, the pig with the sword in it that we saw on the diaries. Of course, David has questions about this because how in the world did her daughters get diaries from Leland? Well, by the way, David, I didn't tell you last week, but Leland and my mom, well, they're banging. It's a long story that she didn't fill you in on, David. But yeah, maybe you probably should have told him sooner. Kristen claims she took care of it. She took care of him. He's a psychopath. She told her mom that he's a psychopath and her mom broke up with him. So she thinks that her mom broke up with him. We know that her mom didn't break up with him. David knows very well, as we all know, that Leland is specifically targeting and kind of stalking Kristen. This didn't just happen by accident. I think Kristen is well aware of it, but she's very insistent and seems a little bit defensive. Once again, she says, David, I took care of it. David tells Kristen she should burn the diaries. Burn them. The question is, how did Leland get this symbol, this insignia, from a 500-year-old book? Now remember, if you go 2 videos back, there were some hints when Cheryl was Googling Leland. It came up in search results. One of them dated back to the 1600s. I'm going to put a card at the top of the screen right now so you can click that and watch episode 5 recap, because we did talk about when Cheryl Googled Leland. So David pulls this up online. These are the sigils of the demons. They're sigils and symbols of demonic powers. Demons apparently use these to recognize each other, and they have magical powers. Anatus. This is the mighty king and hierarchy of demons and devils. So he rules all these infernal demons. According to David, he gets his strength and power off of lies and sins. Kristen's interpretation of all of this is Leland uses the symbol of the demon as a metaphor to give some type of meaning to his pursuits. Or could he actually be this demon? Now, since Kristen is a skeptic, she's not going to entertain the idea that this could potentially be a demon. Anyways, the doorbell rings, and it's Mira, and she meets David, the priest in training. David has to go to do some priesting, and she's brought pictures of the 3 victims. All 3 boys went missing after being picked up at a bus stop out in Long Island in Hempstead. And they're the same boys that the demon had named by name. So Mira has done some checking up on Kristen, and is well aware that she is no longer a practicing therapist. So the whole confidentiality thing between doctor-patient isn't going to fly with her, and that actually makes her a person of interest. She's kind of threatening towards Kristen, and she basically wants her to find out if this killer, whoever her patient is, intends to kill again. So she wants her to ask and find out. So I guess it's time to go back once again and visit our demon and get some information from her. Kristen shows the pictures to Bridget, aka the demon or whatever thing is possessing her at this point, and asks her if she plans to kill again. The demon doesn't want to play ball. Okay, so we learned some information here about Kristen that we didn't know about. She asks Bridget to tell her about her miscarriage. Kristen tells her she had a miscarriage too, and you see there is definitely pain inside. She starts to break down at this point. So after this, basically 5 different spirits apparently take control of her. So there's all different voices. It's pretty amazing, her performance here, because she has all these different voices that she's actually seems to be having a conversation with, and all of them sound very different from one another, and it's pretty amazing the work that she does in this scene. I was really impressed with the actress here. David wants to talk to Howard because Howard's the killer. Well, these other spirits don't like Howard very much, apparently. But the biggest question with them all is whether or not Howard intends to kill again. When they ask her this, she seems to have some type of seizure or breakthrough. I'm not quite sure what it is, but then she kind of passes out. It seems like the demons are leaving her. And then Kristen goes to check out the location that she gave for where the bodies are buried. This is really bad because obviously there's more than just the 3 murders from what it looks like here. It looks like there are quite a bit. So Kristen calls Mirror and reports it and asks for it to be reported anonymously and that it has to be an anonymous tip. She wants to report where the bodies are. Mirror wants to know who the killer is. The only thing Kristen's willing to tell her is where the bodies are buried. So now this little shit Sebastian is feeling somewhat empowered after giving his shit to the barista girl and getting revenge. Leland encourages Sebastian to go ahead and join 8chan and the incel community. Now, like I said before, I don't believe that Leland is an incel. I don't think he likes women very much, but from what I understand, the incel community is celibate. I don't think he's part of it because he's banging Cheryl. Now, Leland has gotten Sebastian a very special invitation into their community. However, he says there might be a service required of him. Meanwhile, Ben is able to get a hold of the surveillance footage from the detention center where they were holding Grace and potentially interpret some of what she was writing down. They interpret to what she's writing down to mean the massacre of the innocents, which is a reference back to Herod's slaughter of all the innocent children when Herod ordered the death of all the children after the birth of Christ because he was threatened by Christ. So they show the men from the Vatican these symbols, these demonic sigils that they found in their own codex. They deny having any knowledge of this or that there's anything demonic in their codex. He says something in Italian to them, they go out of the room, and Kristen takes a whole bunch of pictures while she has a chance. Now, just so you know, so these sigils represent the 60 that we've talked about several times in almost every episode. You see there's a lot of different symbols in here. I think all of these symbols are going to come into play at some point. As we can see, there's a very specific symbol right here. And we cut back to Sebastian online with his new incel friends. Yeah, these guys are bad news. These guys feel that there's been a deep injustice done to them. They feel that they need to be able to have sex with women anytime they want. So while all these guys are talking and complaining about how they're not having sex and how women have mistreated them and how they should treat women like trash to get laid, all kinds of really, really nasty misogyny going on here. So eventually, one of them, this guy up here, says that we need to go and take them out. And by taking them out, he doesn't mean taking them out to dinner or take them out on a date. He means literally take them out, like in a very violent way. And this is probably the requirement that he was talking about when he mentioned that he required something of Sebastian. This shit is a lot scarier than the actual demons. It's actually what the demons are provoking them to do. It's actually the humans here that are being scary, not the demons. The demons are simply planting the seeds of fear and anger into the human to invoke some type of event that causes violence and destruction. So apparently the demon is threatening to bring 7 other spirits into Bridget. But according to David, this means that they are nearing the end. The only question is, where's Dwight? Because he needs to be there for this. Because if they're nearing the end of all these spirits leaving her body, her husband obviously needs to be there. Well, Dwight is on the phone. Who is he on the phone with, I wonder? So Ben comes in the room and Dwight is on the phone saying he just can't take it anymore. And then he says, yes, she said it. All 3. I think Ben realizes that Dwight is starting to look really, really suspicious at this point. Ben tells Dwight it's almost done, sends him out of the room, and he goes to check to see who he was on the phone with. When he calls the number, it's 911. He was actually on the phone with the police. You hear sirens coming from outside. Dwight is holding his wife, Bridget, saying he loves her so much. At this point, Kristen and David realize that the cops are there. Of course, Kristen is not happy at all when she sees that Mira is there. Mira tells Kristen that just know she does not have anything to do with that arrest. So they take away Bridget and arrest her. Ben tells Kristen and David that he overheard Bridget's husband on the phone with 911. Both Kristen and David think that Bridget is innocent and that Dwight is responsible. Ben brings up a really good point that she knew where the kids were buried. Kristen says there's a psychological condition where a spouse can actually dominate his wife and force her to cover up his crimes, and in some cases even take the blame. David goes back to the house to try and find Dwight to talk to him. So we have David enter the house. It appears to be very, very dark. He hears some noises that are coming from upstairs. So Dwight is pulling these out of the wall, and these apparently are souvenirs that he claims Bridget collected from the crime scenes. And David questions him. He just says, I'm a good husband. I was trying to keep him from the police. I was just trying to keep her from going to jail or whatever. He starts to break down and cry, and then we see the camera pan over next to the toys. We have a knife right here. Then we just see Dwight go absolutely apeshit, and he grabs the knife and tries to attack David with it. Wow. Innocent people don't go after priests like that. Thankfully, David is stronger and bigger and able to apprehend him. Damn, go David. But then when David goes back to the floorboard, we see this symbol. And this symbol looks very familiar because we saw it earlier. They go back and they refer to the Codex pictures that Kristen took on her camera to try to put them all together. And David finds the same symbol. David tells Kristen and Ben they found this symbol at Dwight's hiding place and they arrested Dwight. There is another symbol right here that David recognizes. And we learn very shortly why he recognized this one specifically. Right away we know something's going on because he gets up and just darts out of the room. We covered this in the beginning. He looks at some art and he sees all these symbols on this art, and the symbols are art that belongs to his father. This is the first we're hearing about David's father, and I guess he was an artist. So what does that mean and how does that fit into everything that we see here? Something else that I didn't point out before, but we believe this is actually one of David's father's painting. So the Kings are really putting together all these little puzzle pieces. Guys, what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take all these puzzle pieces and try to do a separate video just dedicated to them because I think the puzzle pieces need their own video. So stay tuned for that. If you like my recap, subscribe to my channel. I'll be putting a recap after every episode. Thank you guys for watching. I can't wait to watch next week because next week looks really, really good based on the trailer. I'll put the link down below for the trailer for next week's too. Follow me on Twitter at LarisseF. Let me know what you think in comments down below. I'd like to hear all of your theories. Also check out my Facebook fan group that I admin with a whole bunch of other really, really awesome evil fans. A lot of people think that stuff is just being put in episodes randomly without any explanation, but I think that they're starting to build to something, and I cannot wait to hear and see what they are building to. Look for that video, and I will talk to you guys in my next one. All right, see you guys later.